Can you work and homeschool? Let's talk about it. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, hi, welcome. My name is Sydney and I am a full-time working homeschool mom. And I know what you're thinking, how can that be possible? How can you work and homeschool? Can you work and homeschool? Today I'm gonna break it all down for you and kind of let you know what it's like working and homeschooling, how I make it fit into my life, and just if this is something that you're interested in and you're like, I don't know how I could do that, I don't know how I could work and homeschool, I hope that this video helps you and it gives you some encouragement and some insight into how maybe this is possible. Now, I can only speak for myself. There are lots of layers to this kind of discussion. There's so many different paths you can take. There's so many different jobs, and it's really kind of personalized and individualized. So just know when I am speaking to you, I'm speaking from my own experiences and how it's worked for me and maybe how it could work for you. So first, I think it's important to break down how long does homeschooling actually take? Because when we're trying to think, how could I work and homeschool? That's one of the first things that comes to our mind. We're sitting there thinking, wait, school is 7 hours a day. I work 8 hours a day. I can't homeschool 7 hours a day. Let's like debunk this. Let's break it down a little bit. So homeschooling does not take 7 hours a day. It doesn't even take 6 hours a day. It's not school at home, if that makes sense. You can make it school at home if you want to, but I wouldn't recommend that. So with homeschooling, in the younger elementary years, homeschooling only takes about an hour or two. When you get to middle school, junior high, high school, you might be looking at sometimes high schoolers can work as much as 6 hours a day, but generally it's about 2 to 4 hours a day. This is because homeschooling is so much faster. It's a one-on-one education, and it's just like one parent to one child, or if you have multiple children, you know, one parent and you have like 5 children, it is just so much quicker to homeschool because it's not 30 kids in a classroom with one teacher, first of all. And then there's not all of the disruptions, the class changes, the notification bell going off, calling someone to the office. All of those little interruptions actually take up a huge amount of time in the school day. And when we homeschool, we don't have any of those interruptions. Yes, we have interruptions, like maybe we have little ones, toddlers at our feet, those sorts of things, but we don't have all of these constant distractions, interruptions, so many children, so many people, and that really, the school system has it laid out in a certain foundation to take that long. And really at the end of the day, those public schooled, private schooled kids are really only getting about 2 hours of instruction out of like a 7-hour day. That's how many disruptions there are, if you can believe it or not. So homeschooling just does not take that long. I am currently homeschooling. I've been homeschooling over a year. I'm into my 2nd year now, and my daughter is basically in 1st grade already, but all during like her kindergarten, it only took us an hour a day to homeschool. And I am planning it will only take 2 hours a day, probably all through elementary school. That is how I have to have it work, obviously too, because I do work. And I need to know how long our homeschool days are going to be. Now, if you're like, wait, but what about like high school? That's like way longer. It's okay. Once our kids get older and they get to that high school level, so much of their work becomes independent. It is so independently led, and we as the parent become more of like kind of a facilitator. We become more of like kind of going through, checking off what they've done, checking their work, and our load isn't as heavy as theirs at that point. They're taking a lot of, like out school classes, online classes, maybe a class with a co-op. They might be dual enrolled in college classes at that point. Our load just isn't that heavy at that point. And we're still very much involved. We're still homeschool parents, but we are not sitting there homeschooling a high schooler for 6 hours a day. I hope that that makes sense. A lot of it is independent, and you want your children to gain that independence, and that's what we're trying to do all through elementary going into junior high. We want our children to be independent and able to kind of teach themselves a lot of things at that point. It kind of depends if your child is like college bound or not, but if they're not, it could be like really interest led and diving really deep into the things that they're interested in and what they want to do with the rest of their future. If they want to go to trade school, or I mean, the possibilities are absolutely endless. Our children can graduate early, they can do dual enrollment like I said, and yeah, it's incredible. But that's kind of a digression. So back to the topic. We can work and homeschool because it does not take that much time. The second thing that we need to talk about is, how old are your children? Are your children young like mine? I have a 6-year-old and a 1-year-old. Or are your children a little bit older? Are they teenagers, 12, 13, 14 years old? This is something that's really important to keep in mind when you're trying to figure out, can I work and homeschool? If you're like me and you have younger children, obviously if I work outside of the home, I need childcare. And if your children are a little bit older, maybe they can be home for a couple of hours on their own. But it's really important to stop and consider how old your children are so that you can kind of break down like, okay, could I work like part-time and have some childcare? Do I have support around me? Do I have someone to help me? So with my job, I work mostly from home, and then I work a couple days outside of the home. So I need childcare. So for me, my childcare is my mom. We all work together in a family business, which is really, really fortunate. And I know how fortunate I am to have grandparents that are willing to watch my children. I know a lot of people don't have that. It is really important to have support around you, or to have people that can help you with your children if you do work outside of the home. But even like saying, so yes, I work from home and outside of the home, and I homeschool. So on the days I work outside of the home, I usually don't do our homeschool lessons. And when I work from home, I do try to do our homeschool lessons. And it's also really depends on what kind of job you have. Do you have a flexible job? Is it more rigid? Is it a strict 9 to 5? What does your job look like? If it is a strict 9 to 5, but you can do it remotely from home, I mean, that still gives you so much freedom. Don't feel like you can't homeschool if you work a 9 to 5 from home, because you totally can. You could homeschool in the early mornings. You could homeschool after work. Does it take sacrifice? Yes, it does. But if it's important to you, if your heart is tugging at you to homeschool and you're trying to figure out how you could possibly make this work, it takes sacrifice. It's not easy to work and homeschool. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's not easy to work from home when you have little kids. They are constantly needing things, and my brain is all over. I'm trying to balance so much in my head, but that is what my content's all about, is showing you how you can juggle this and balance it. And it really is about prioritizing, creating a schedule, and making sure that your children know, like, hey, I do work, so we have to do our homeschool lessons at this time, and we've got to kind of work through it and get it done. Another piece of advice that I have for you, if you are a working homeschool mom, is to maybe think about homeschooling year round. That is what I do, and I find it just so much more freeing. Homeschooling year round really just like creates so much flexibility, especially for a working parent. I mean, I would recommend it for anyone, but especially if you're considering working and homeschooling. So I want to give you some tips and tricks if you are thinking about working and homeschooling. One of my biggest tips is to consider what is called time blocking. Time blocking in your homeschooling is putting time frames, like time blocks, on each lesson that you're going to do. So for us, if you take into consideration handwriting, Bible, language arts, math. So for us, I do 5 minutes of handwriting, 5 minutes of Bible, 15 minutes of language arts, and 15 minutes of math. And this is just so helpful because it gives you a time frame and it gives your child a time frame so that you're not sitting there trying to homeschool and get through your lessons all day long. Sometimes people want to homeschool based off of the lesson, and that's fine if it works for you, but especially as a working homeschool parent, time blocking is just so much more efficient. It is so freeing. So what I do is I literally set a visual timer to the 15 minutes. I say, this is how long we're gonna work on our lesson. We do that of language arts, and when the timer is done, we're done. If my daughter wanted to keep working through a lesson, I would allow for that depending on what my schedule is like and what our time-wise was like. That just makes it so like, I know we have an hour to get our homeschool lessons done, and that's what we're gonna do. And we'll just stop right where we're at. And that can be right in the middle of like a language arts lesson, and that's okay. We just pick back up where we left off the next day. I think it is so valuable to talk to your children about your lifestyle. Let them know, hey, mom works and homeschools, so I have to have you be respectful of my time and know that this is when we're gonna do our homeschool lessons, and then I have to work also. It's really beneficial, I think, to show our children how we balance and juggle everything. Like, this is not easy, and we are teaching them such valuable life skills. Like, just think about that. You are showing them how you balance everything. If they were at school all day, they would never see any of that. And they might grow up into adulthood wondering how to balance and juggle everything. Through homeschooling and working, we get to actually show them that. And that is a beautiful, wonderful thing that I think is so invaluable. I also think you can totally make them a part of the process. Ask them, like, what time of day do you prefer homeschooling? Like, I know for us, homeschooling works better in the morning, and my daughter would agree. That's what she has said as well. But it's okay if that doesn't work sometimes. Sometimes the mornings just don't work for us. Like, my mornings get so busy and we don't get to our lessons, and we homeschool at night. It's also okay to homeschool on the weekends. Just know that if you need to work like a 9 to 5, you know, your heart's tugging at you to homeschool, you desperately want to homeschool your children, pull them out of school, know that you can do it. It's going to take the sacrifice, but you can homeschool at night, you can homeschool on the weekends. There are tons of families that do that, and they make it work for them. And my last piece of advice, if you are considering working and homeschooling, is we have to choose our curriculum a little bit differently than maybe a non-working homeschool mom. I really feel like we have to pick curriculum that is all in one, open and go, easy to use, lays it out for us. But I feel like this is how curriculum should be in general. Like, if I am paying for a curriculum, it needs to just break it down for me, tell me what we're doing, so that I don't have to sit there and lesson plan. I don't have the time for it, and I'm just way too busy. So picking an open and go curriculum, taking some online classes, sourcing really well is just so crucial and so important if you are considering working and homeschooling. And last but not least, I want to just leave you with a little bit of encouragement. If this just sounds so overwhelming to you, so scary, you feel like there's absolutely no way in the world you could ever do this, I want you to know you are not alone. When I was first looking into homeschooling, I just thought, how could I possibly carry more on my shoulders? How could I take on more weight? I had just had a brand new baby. I work full time. I am so busy. And the Lord provides. He gives you what you need. And if your heart is tugging at you to homeschool and you work, why not just give it a shot? That's what I always say about this. If you are thinking about it in any way, shape, form, capacity, if your heart is like saying to you a little bit like, homeschool, why not try it? The school is always going to be there. It will always be there. If you need to pull your kids out and you try homeschooling and you're like, dang, this is just not working, I can't work in homeschool, you can always put your kids back in. They're not gonna be behind. Everything's going to be okay. You can totally do that. There's no like rules that say you can't pull your kid out and then put your kid back in. You can. The school will always be there, and they have to take children if you're trying to enroll them. So don't be afraid of that. If you want to try it, just try it and see how it goes. It's not easy to work in homeschool, I'm not gonna lie, but it is so worth it, and it is absolutely doable. And I just want to leave you with this. I feel like even though it is so hard and sometimes the weight can feel very heavy, the freedom involved with it way outweighs any of that. And I know that sounds crazy. I know that you're thinking, I will have so much more freedom if my children are just in school and I can just work and like separate these two things. I get it. I have been there. I have felt that way. And I just want to be here to tell you and to be that encouragement that there is way more freedom, like 100 times more freedom if you take the homeschooling route. Even if it is hard at times and you're trying to balance work and balance homeschool and taking care of your children, it's worth it. There's way more freedom. The pros so outweigh the cons. You're giving your child a one-on-one education, a personalized education tailored to them. You're able to travel whenever you want. You're able to pick the curriculum. You're able to say what stays and what goes. You are raising your child the exact way that you see fit, that works for your family, and how you want them to be raised. They are going to build healthier social relationships. They are going to have a better relationship with you and their siblings. Like, the pros just so outweigh these little cons of like these, sometimes the moments are hard. It doesn't matter what you do, moments get hard. And you really have to pick your heart, I think. Like, when I sat there just debating if I could do this, if I could work in homeschool or if I should send my children to school, the pros of homeschooling just outweighed all the cons of it. Like, there's so many more cons to sending your children to school, in my opinion. And I just want you to know, if your heart is tugging you to do this, that you can do it and you're not alone. I'm right here for you. I'm in your corner. I'm on your side. And I know that you are out there desperately searching for these types of videos, searching for information, searching for encouragement. And that was me. I was just like desperately searching for this type of content. And it can be really hard to find sometimes. So I just want to be that light for you. I want to be that encouragement, and you can totally do this. I am right here for you. Please like and subscribe to my channel if you liked this video and you want to see more from me. I appreciate you being here so much. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. You mean so much to me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.